It has known struggle, and it has known wisdom. Creativity has been born here, but often it has been carried away. It seems that eyes once opened tend to see elsewhere the horizon, and so they will take themselves to a fonder horizon where the sun is. And here is a land that uplifts creativity but does not celebrate it. It welcomes it, it calls it its own, but then it does not hold it, it does not keep it, it does not make it warm. And so creativity, being what it is, finds another expression. And yet it is a land that is warm. For the hearts are warm and the people as well. But they look to one another and wait for the glimmer in the eye. Then they will smile. Upon their own or upon the first meeting, they rarely smile, even if the heart wishes to.
Why is that?
Because the hearts here still fear. They fear the thoughts of others, the actions of others. They fear the judgments. And so the heart becomes insecure. And the heart does not speak its truth. At the same time, the heart does not wish to lie. And so instead it falls silent, it searches. And when it finds its match, then and only then will it say, I too am here, I too feel what you feel, I too know what you know. Then, when both hearts are open, then the truth comes forward. But until then, the truth is something that is protected here. It is hidden from most. It is something that one must search for and then care for so that it will remain.
And so we'll be asking you questions which the Russian people tend to think are specifically Russian. They're not, but it bears thinking. So first, they are proud of their rich history and long history, which may or may not be so depending on where you look at it from. What would be your enlightened view on the history of this land?
It is the history of the land itself. The people call it their own history, but it is not. The history belongs to the land. The history belongs to it. The land will draw to it. It is the land itself that draws to it the peoples. It is the land that remembers the generations. And it is the land that gives to the people their memories. Cycled and circled one after the other comes for itself its own resources. It does not always wish to export its own, not its people as resources, not its natural resources. At least not unless they can be sold for a high price, something that will bring back to the land something of great value as well. But the land protects its own, it protects its people, and it protects its history. It holds it, it binds it, it describes it so that each generation knows and memorizes its history. It perhaps is more accurate than the history of other countries. Perhaps the stories have been told and retold many times. And so it is an accurate history. It is worth telling. But it is also important to leave history in the past. It is also important then to make the moment and to make the next moment. For if the people will only live its history, they will not progress. They will maintain, but they will not progress. And then they will find themselves left in a time before this one, while other lands and other peoples move forward. So it is an important time for this land and for this people. It is important that they know this.
How do they move forward? Where is forward for them?
Forward comes from the next generations. Forward comes from the present generations that awaken. The newer generations that come will not be as interested in the history. They will be interested in the future. The history they already know. It has been told and they carry it. But they will wish to live the new moments. And it is this now generation and the one that follows that will say to the mothers and the grandmothers, "Thank you for the history. Now I will bring to you the future."
The Russians tend to say and think that nothing ever goes right in this land and that all the good intentions end up crumbling and drowning. What is your view of that?
It is true somewhat of the land, but it has been true as long as the histories are celebrated, uplifted. It can be said that this is true of the past. It will not be so in the future. This land and its peoples that will reach for the sky and for the stars and perhaps find their way there much sooner than will other lands. It is the peoples of this land that will further the science, their technology, and it is they that will put cities in the sky, perhaps sooner than that of other countries. They will take races to the stars sooner than other countries. That is well worth knowing.
They're strongly attached to the concept of being Russian, which, while varied by a person, seems to have a unified core. Is there such a thing as being Russian in any sense of the word that's perhaps equivalent to being Jewish, and what would it mean if it were?
Over. Those that have been born to this and call themselves this have had incarnation after incarnation, many in succession into the same land. And so they consider themselves this in body and mind and soul, perhaps more than others will. And so perhaps they believe that it is in their blood. Perhaps they believe that their mind thinks Russian thoughts in a Russian culture, in a Russian way. Again, this has been so, but it will not continue.
Understood. What would attract someone to keep incarnating in a land? What's the essence that draws?
That are attached to this land. They are attached to it in the way that a plant or a tree is attached to the earth by its roots. They are rooted here. And until such truths, until such times are revealed, they will continue to reincarnate to this land. To a certain degree, they wish to see it liberated. They do not see it as free as they see other lands. They do not see the borders as other lands do. They see them as boundaries, barriers. And so there are those that will continue to reincarnate in this land until these shift, until they are easier borders, until those of foreign lands are made welcome here, until many languages are spoken here. Until then.
There's a perceived sense of instability about this country, which reflects in everything. How people and does it require any dealing with?
There is nothing that most of the peoples can do regarding this. It is the mindset. It is almost as if it is written upon the walls. In ink that cannot be seen, it is almost as if the laws that the people are governed by are written. It is almost as if it is on the ground upon which they walk. And so they have been born into these laws, whether they believe in them or not. And so structure, restructure must and will come to the land as well. It is the land of the peoples, but the peoples do not know this yet. The peoples believe that the lands belong to others and that they are mere borrowers of this. They pay rent upon lands that are not their own, but they are their own, and that must be.
Life of the peoples here is also in a fairly poor state at the moment, medically, nutritionally, and otherwise. How could they be best dealt with in a way that doesn't involve proclamations of the need for global change?
The resources must be redistributed to the peoples as well. You see, they do not necessarily believe in a long life here, and that affects the life itself as well. The mind, the Russian mind, if you will call it that, does not believe in a long, long life. It believes in a life of work, of discovery, of duty, of family, of responsibility. And if health happens to accompany that, so be it. And if it does not, then so be that. And so it is not a country that is known for longevity. And it will remain that way at least for some time. This will not change until the entire structure of this country is upheld by others, until it is perceived differently by other lands and by other governments. Then it will begin to change. And it will not begin to change until the sky cities are built, and beyond that into the stars as well. That will change the entire. Peoples will see it differently and feel differently, and that will be transmitted to the mind and to the body and to the spirit.
Of perception, the foreigners, whatever definition you attribute to that word, are perceived with a degree of suspicion and irony in this land. How is this land perceived from the outside?
As one that is backward in nature, as one that is secretive, as one that holds great power and great mystery. There is a fear of those that live elsewhere of this land, because it seems as if it is a different world, not necessarily a different land. Its peoples are its own peoples first, then they are peoples of the world. And so it is seen a bit as a discomfort to the rest of the world, as if this land holds a power over the world that the others do not have. In a committee of the countries, this one can be counted upon to stand aside. This one can be counted upon to say no when the others say yea. This one can be counted upon to break a treaty if it is for their own making. It may be better or worse for the rest of the countries, but this one can be counted upon to stand apart or stand upon its own favor. And so be it. What matters how the rest of the world perceives it matters more. And in what direction it faces. You see, for now the country faces to the north. For now the country faces to the east. It does not face south, and it does not face west. Wavers, but those that are in command of the country are not yet. They are of the old guard, and they will protect the old guard.
As a closing, anything you perhaps wish to impart as a gift?
Would say to each those that would participate in these words that the heart has always been free to wander, that the mind has certain barriers, but it too can overcome these, that the heart will wander its way to other thoughts and to other times, and though the peoples be proud of their history and of that which marks their history, it would find even more pride in what the country will make of itself in the future. Would say to all those that would hear these words, look to your future, look to your heart, open it, see what is inside, a mystery and a treasure, both revealed. Let that come forward, and the entire rest of the world will notice, will hear, and will see the wisdom within.